All right. First and foremost, give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai. It's your brother, Chief Priest Alazar Banoya, a.k.a. the Guerrilla Hebrew.
This is Hassan.
You hear this dude? We both over here sick, man. But this dude, man, you know, he always got to wear it on his sleeve, man.
I've been sick. I've been sick since remember last class when I was crazy. I've been sick.
You know, Atlanta. We were out very late in Atlanta, and it was also very cold in Atlanta. You know, so that certainly took a toll, I believe, and it contributed. And I was just out late in Atlanta this past weekend, so we're both a little under the weather. But through the Spirit, we are going to deliver class. Last week, because I was sick last week too. We both were sick last week. We were so sick. If y'all remember last Tuesday class, I was just reading for myself. I was so sick I only get through half of it. Really, I only got through the history portion, and not the Torah portion. So
I came in for like 15, 20 minutes.
Like, yeah, you're right. You did. So like it. So what we're gonna do actually is go over the Torah portion that we were supposed to go over last Tuesday. We still gonna have a Torah portion tomorrow because you know it's the usual Tuesday Torah and history. But today we're gonna go over some prophecy, some fulfilled, or you know, at least mostly fulfilled prophecy in history, and we're gonna go over a large chunk of the Torah through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So, also, we still got. Stay tuned on all 3 channels. We still got a lot of footage coming from the Summit weekend, and we also have a lot of footage from this last Super Bowl weekend, and a special treat that happened here in Dallas also this weekend, as well as San Diego. So, y'all look out for that through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Man, so what we're gonna do? Let's start with the prophecy. Zechariah 5 and 5. Let's start there. Shalom, everybody. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatham. Remember to like, sub, share, and super chat. All right. So now, go ahead. Zechariah 5 and 5 to the end.
This is Zechariah chapter 5, verse 5. It says, Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, Lift up now thine eyes, and see what is this that goeth forth. And I said, What is it? And he said, This is an ephah that goeth forth.
This is an ephah that goeth forth. Read on.
He said, Moreover, this is their resemblance through all the earth.
So this is an ephah that goeth forth. For those of y'all that are not familiar with an ephah is a jar that was used for measurement in ancient times. Right? Read.
It says, verse 7, And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead.
So here's a talent of lead lifted up with this jar. Right? Read on.
And this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah.
So within the jar was a woman. Right? Hold what you got. You need the apocrypha. I need you to get a precept.
For the woman, Israel being a woman?
Yeah, there's one in the Bible. You're right.
I got one. This is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman.
So that's the woman that's in the midst of the ephah or the jar. The woman that's there is Israel, us, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, right? So go back to that.
It says, And behold, there was lifted up a talent of lead, and this is a woman that sitteth in the midst of the ephah.
This is a woman that sit in the midst of the ephah, right? So that again, that woman is Israel, right? Go ahead.
It says, And he said, This is wickedness. And he cast it into the midst of the ephah.
The wickedness being cast in the midst of that jar is symbolizing the reason why we were cast into that jar as a nation, which is because of wickedness. That's the whole reason that this is happening, right? Read.
It says, This is wickedness, and he cast it into the midst of the ephah, and he cast the weight of lead upon the mouth thereof.
Go ahead.
And lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings.
So like, you read that part again.
Verse Zechariah 5 and 9. Then lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women.
There come out 2 women. So here comes 2 women. Read.
And the wind was in their wings.
And the wind was in their wings. Go ahead.
For they had wings like the wings of a stork.
Okay, so a lot of people are not familiar with this. In modern time, we look at a stork. Hold on one second. In modern time, we look at a stork and you think about a stork delivering babies, right? That's like the modern mythos on a stork, right? In the ancient world, a stork was known in the mythos to steal babies, not bring them, right? They changed what a stork is, in the modern mythology. But in ancient mythology, a stork was known for stealing babies. So here we have these two women with wings like a stork because they're coming to steal somebody's babies. Right, Reed?
They had wings of a stork, and they lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven.
They lifted up the ephah between the earth and the heaven, right? That's putting the ephah and what's in the ephah on display. So that's basically them showing the world the oppression of Israel, putting us on display for the whole world to see. You damn right we need some elderberry. I got some, but I need to get some more. They put us on display for the whole world to see, right? And I'm gonna show y'all the significance of the two women. Window capture. I'm gonna show you the significance of the two women, right? So it's two women with wings, right? This is common amongst Esau to have this double-headed bird or double-headed eagle and things of that nature, right? You see it all over Austria. You see that? I believe this is Russia. This is Russia. We got Russian coat of arms. Albania, right? So watch this. Right, so in Heraldian vixology, the double-headed eagle is a charge associated with the concept of empire, right? So it's this empire, right? Hold on. No, watch. There's a point I want to demonstrate. See, this is what's interesting as well. Adoption of the double-headed eagle in Serbia, Russia, and the Holy Roman Empire begins still in the medieval period, possibly as early as the 12th century, but widespread use begins after the fall of Constantinople in the 15th century. So what's the significance of this symbol becoming prevalent after the fall of Constantinople in the 15th century? That's after the fall of the black nobility and the black rulership in Europe. They were utilizing the symbol to commemorate that in that new white Roman Empire, or the rebirth of the white Roman Empire, but under the guise of the Catholic Church. There's something in particular I want to say briefly.
Intercepting Gentile thing.
No. I could go into that as well, but there's a particular thing I want to show here, and I should have had it ready before I even started. What's it? We got something? Oh, Salakia. Who is that? Who is it from?
Not one to be shot.
Huh?
Not one to be shot.
Not
one to be shot.
Not one to be shy. Is it brother or sister? Can we tell? All right, whoever you are, not one to be shy. I appreciate you, y'all. By some out, shy Brakatha. There's a particular thing. Hold on. Hold on. Let me find this. This is making me mad, man. Wikipedia always changing something. But essentially what this stuff means is like two different people coming together, or two different types of things coming together. And what it symbolized with the two women that are taking us somewhere, putting us in a jar and oppressing us and taking us somewhere, what it symbolizes is the Christian white man and the Jewish white man and their collective co-conspiracy to take us into slavery and bring us to the Americas. The Jewish white man funding it, and the Christian white man actually being the ones who did it. So if we could, let's go to give me that in Job actually about the hawk and the eagle.
Job chapter 39 verse 26. Doth the hawk fly by thy wisdom, and stretch her wings toward the south?
So you have a hawk, right? And then read.
Doth the eagle mount up at thy command?
But then you have an eagle, right? Two different types of birds, the hawk and the eagle. Read on.
And make her nest on high?
She
dwelleth and abideth on the rock.
She dwelleth abideth on high on the rock. Read on.
Upon the crag of the rock, and the strong place.
In the strong place, read.
From thence she seeketh the prey.
From thence she seeketh the prey. So you have hawks and you have eagles, right? Hawks and eagles are both birds of prey, but they are on different levels of the proverbial totem pole when it comes to being predatory. An eagle is what you would call an apex predator, and that's what the Bible is describing here in Job. It says their nest is on high, they dwell on the crag of the rock, and from there they hunt their prey, right? Meaning they are on a cliff stalking their prey, watching from very far, and they attack before anything can be done about it, versus other birds. That's what separates eagles from other birds in that aspect. It makes them essentially the king of the fowl kingdom, right? So I want to show something. One second. All right, so hold on one second. So this is for a true hawk, right? Considered a true hawk. The hawk in its truest form has a scientific name, a very interesting scientific name, and it's called the Aceptor gentilis, right? So let's see what this word means, right? Aceptor. Definition. I need the etymon. Where is the etymon? Oh, here. I know what the etymon is. What's wrong? Okay. Where is this damn etymology at? Salakia. They used to really tell you what this meant. It essentially means intercepting, but I don't. It's only telling me like the modern, zoological definition. All right, but hold on. Let's take a look if they got gentilis right at least. This is amazing. Please tell me they got gentilis right at least. It's incredible. She looked non-Jew. Okay, they got gentilis right. It means Gentile. All right, cool. They got that right. I gotta get this definition. But essentially what it means is an intercepting Gentile. My bad, y'all. This is incredible how they switch stuff up all the damn time. But essentially it means intercepting Gentile. That's what a hawk means, right? So essentially even though all the white men use the hawk, eat the eagle rather, Edom symbol is the eagle. In essence, in truth, the Jewish white man is like the real eagle. He's really the apex predator because, like it said in Job, read that part in Job again about the eagle.
Okay. It says, "Doth the eagle mount up at thy command, and make her nest on high?"
The eagle makes the nest on high. Read.
She dwelleth and abideth on the rock.
She dwelleth on the rock. Read.
Upon the crag of the rock.
Which is on top of the cliff, essentially. Read.
In the strong place.
In the stronger place. Right. Read.
From thence she seeketh the prey.
From there she watches and calculates how she's going to pounce on her prey. Versus the hawk, that's on a lower level. That's not at the top watching and stalking his prey in that same manner. You see what I'm saying? So the eagle is on top of the hawk in the food chain of the fowls. The same way that the Jewish white man is ahead of the Christian white man, so to speak. Amalek is above the other Edomites. You see what I'm saying? So when it says the two women come together with the wings like a stork to take this woman that's in that jar, is what it's talking about, the Jewish and the Christian white man, right? The Gentile that intercepts us and the apex predator. Not many of the Jewish man was actually going and intercepting us and taking us into slavery, but they were funding it. They were behind it ultimately. They were the apex predator, right? But it's all right. Go back to Zechariah 5.
Zechariah chapter 5, verse 10. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, whither do these bear the ephah?
So he's saying, okay, they're grabbing this jar up, this woman in the jar. Where in the hell are they taking it? Right, read.
And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar.
To build it a house in the land of Shinar. This is important. Let's do Shinar first. What is Shinar? Babylon, right? So it's taking it into Babylon. It's talking about us going into Babylon, being carted into slavery into Babylon. That's what it's in reference to. To build it in a house, though. That's the interesting part. Why? Because we are the spiritual temple. So the temple is being built from Shinar or from Babylon. So we've been carted here in slavery, but our temple or our house or we are being built as a nation from up out of Babylon, right? The same way in ancient Babylon, we came out and we actually went and built our physical house. The physical temple, rebuilt that. Is the same way the spiritual temple is being built now. So you can understand. So read on.
It says, in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base.
So it says, it shall be established and set there upon its own base. Now we know the word base typically is associated with low, being brought low, right? Like the basement, the lowest part of your home. But also we know the word base. We grew up playing tag as kids, right? Base was a place where it was safe. So when you actually look that word for base up in the Hebrew there, it means a pedestal. Matter of fact, let me get it. Because this is like a base. The word base in this instance has a positive rather than a negative or a lowly connotation. Set upon her own base. Resting place. Right? Or a resting place or like a pedestal. That's what we'll be set on from here. Saying we're going to go into slavery into Babylon. We're going to be oppressed in this jar. And it's going to have that ceiling on it that we can't escape it. We're going to be stuck in there with wickedness. But out of this place, a house will be built for us and we'll be set on our own base. That's talking about spiritually Israel waking up, the elect waking up and being delivered out of here and being put in a resting place from here, which is back home in Israel under Hamashiach Yahushua. Very, and a lot of, bugged out Christians, they have their own interpretations for Zechariah 5, but it's just very clear contextually what it's in reference to. There's a lot of spooked out things. And they believe that this lady in the jar is some type of a demon that dwells in Babylon. And if you go into Iraq, you're going to get possessed by this demon or some madness to that degree. But all it's talking about really is Israel going into slavery here in America and us being delivered out of slavery here in America. And in whom the perpetrators of enslaving us is here in America, which are the white man, both on the Christian and Jewish side. Very simple. So I wanted to go into that. I know it's brief, so we can go, because this class we want to go into prophecy, but I wanted to go into that, and now we're going to go into the Torah portion from last week that we were not able to get to. So we're going to start in Deuteronomy 1, and we're going to read 1 to 18. And after that, we're going to go to chapter 5, we'll read 5, 6, 7, 8.
Verse 1 to verse 18?
Con.
Okay.
Melina Show, the water, Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatah, Shalom. Reggie R, the water, Yahweh Shemel Shabrakatah, Shalom. All right. Go ahead.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran and Tophel, and Laban and Hazeroth and Dizahab. There are 11 days' journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel, according unto all that Yahweh had given him in commandment unto them. And he had slain Sihon, the king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, which dwelt in Ashtaroth and Edrei. On this side Jordan, in the land of Moab, began Moses to declare this law, saying, Yahweh our God spake unto us in Horeb, saying, Ye have dwelt long enough in this mount. Turn you and take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all the places nigh thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, and in the vale, and in the south, and by the sea side, to the land of the Canaanites, and unto Lebanon, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. Behold, I have set the land before you.
So what the Most High is saying is, look, y'all been in the wilderness long enough. It's time to take the kingdom, right? Go ahead.
Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess the land which Yahweh swore unto your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give unto them and to their seed after them. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I am not able to bear you myself alone. Yahweh your God hath multiplied you, and behold, ye are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. The Lord God of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as ye are, and bless you as he hath promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance and your burden and your strife? Take you wise men in understanding and known among your tribes, and I'll make them rulers over you. And ye answered me and said, The thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, Hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him.
So this is when Moses is setting up the system of judges and officers that are to oversee the civic matters and even criminal matters of Israel. Okay, read.
You shall not respect persons in judgment.
And you shall what?
Not respect persons in judgment.
So this is that law now. We have people who are set up as judges, counselors amongst our people, and we're not to respect persons in that judgment. Right, read.
But ye shall hear the small as well as the great.
So it doesn't matter how minuscule somebody is in the nation or how prominent somebody is in the nation. You hear both sides and you judge righteous judgment. Read.
You shall not be afraid of the face of man.
Meaning, if somebody's powerful or intimidating, you're not afraid of him. You're not intimidated by him. If he's wrong, he's wrong. Right, read.
For the judgment is God's.
That's right.
And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear.
So Moses said, if it's too hard, now we're going to expedite it, and we're going to change jurisdiction, so to speak, and it's going to be brought up the ladder to me. We see a similar system reiterated by Hamashiach Yahushua in Matthew 18. You have an issue, you go between your brother. If it's too hard for y'all to work out on a one-on-one basis, you bring in witnesses. If that's too difficult, you bring in the church. You see what I'm saying? So it's a similar thing in the changing of jurisdiction if the matter is, as Moses said here, too hard for thee. Right, read on.
And I commanded you at that time all the things which you should do. That's verse 18.
That's verse 18. Okay. So now let's go to 5. A lot of this is history. So in the history portion, as y'all know from following along on our Tuesday classes, a lot of the stuff we'll skip over with law will be recovered in history, because a lot of it is more so telling historical narrative rather than commanding us law as to what was going on during the time period, right? So read.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 1. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them.
That's right, go ahead.
Yahweh our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. Yahweh made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us.
That's right.
Even us, who are all of us here alive this day. The Lord talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood between Yahweh and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord, for you were afraid by reason of the fire and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation.
So he's reiterating essentially the 10 Commandments, what was told to us in Horeb and Issachar Thawadi Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Brakatah. So he's reiterating that as far as the cultivation, creation of idols, right? Read.
And the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou.
That's right. So it's same thing, reiterating again the 10 Commandments, reiterating again the 10 Commandments, Sabbath, no idolatry, etc. So keep going.
Con.
But there's a reason why, because first let me say this, as before we go any further here in Deuteronomy. The word Deuteronomy means second law. That's what it means. So it's showing you that how key repetition is and how serious it is that we got to keep repeating these same things to Israel over and over, because our people are so hard-headed and stiff-necked, as it speaks about in the Bible, that we got to hear this stuff over and over again. So the 10 Commandments now are being reiterated. We already heard them in Exodus. We already went over them, but here they are coming back again in what's called second law, to let you know how important it is that we need to keep these commandments. Right, read.
Verse 15. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out of thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, neither shalt thou commit adultery.
Which we know kill is dealing with murder, an unjust killing, right? Neither shalt thou commit adultery, have sex with somebody else's wife. Read.
Neither shalt thou steal. Neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife.
Now, notice it says, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thy neighbor. What does that mean? Another Israelite. Doesn't mean we can't bear false witness on a non-Israelite. I just want to make sure that's on the record. Read.
Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife.
Yeah, Jeremiah, we in the zone room, brother. Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, or anything that is thy neighbor's.
Yeah, don't covet with your brothers, because that's what leads to hate, and that's why there's so much hate in our communities now. Because you see a brother getting ahead a little bit, and you just hate on it because you're coveting after it. See, so a lot of these issues, the Most High with these laws, statutes, commandments is actually cutting off issues at the root before there's even an opportunity, when he's telling you that you cannot do this if you do this, because he knows the detriments that it would lead to. See, so us being totally alienated from this law and taught that this law was unimportant, and you got niggas like what is it, Creflo Dollar said, though, you can't even have a relationship with the Big Ten that tells you not to covet after anything that is your neighbor's. That's going to destroy us. It's to our utter death. Right? So read.
says, these words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire.
So he's telling you, I'm reiterating the 10 Commandments. Read.
Of the cloud and of the thick darkness, with a great voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone, and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass, when he heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And he said, behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his greatness, and we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God doth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Yahweh our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have and lived? Go thou near, and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. And the Lord heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me, and the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them.
You see that? So all that was the heart with them. Knowing ahead of time that we're going to rebel from these commandments. Only if it was just in us to just always keep the law, statutes, commandments. Shalom, Deacon. I see you. Go ahead.
God. It says, and with their children forever. Go say to them, get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments, which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left.
So, meaning, the Most High gave us these commandments. We're not to go right or left from it. We're to do exactly what he told us. Right, read? Man.
It says, ye shall walk in all the ways which Yahweh your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land which ye shall possess.
Exactly. So the reason why we're not in our land, the reason why our days are not, I see you. The reason why we're not having our days prolonged and prospering is because we've turned to the left from those commandments. Read.
It's Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear Yahweh thy God, to keep all his commandments, to keep all his statutes and commandments, which I commanded thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that you may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers hath promised thee.
That's right. Hear this. Keep the laws, so you will increase mightily. So the reason why we're decreased in the way that we are right now is because we didn't hear these laws and do them, so we're decreased right now. So if we want to increase, and our people are always trying to find a get-rich-quick scheme and try to find out how to prosper and go to church to be lied to by a prosperity preacher, and all he's doing is prospering off of your simple black behind. What we have to understand is the key to our prosperity as a people are these laws, statutes, and commandments. There's no way we can get this as a people without the laws, statutes, and commandments. It's that simple. There's literally no other path. So we're sitting here as blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans scratching our heads, wondering what we need to do. Do we need to get more civically involved? Do we need to do A, B, and C and do start businesses or go to college or become doctors? What we got to do is keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. Because with those, it's going to empower everything that we do to prosper. But without those, you can go and become a doctor. That's fine. But without these commandments, it's not going to benefit your nation as a whole. Right? Read.
In the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house.
So this is important, right? Read that part again from the top.
And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children.
You got to teach these laws to your kids. Diligently to your kids. Read.
And shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house.
When you're in the house kicking it, You're supposed to be talking about the laws of God. You're supposed to be implanting this in the brains of your children. This is why it says in Proverbs, train up a child in the way that he should go, and they will never depart from it. You have to keep great point. Great point, Jean-Baptiste. You got to implant these ideals in your children. It's highly important that you do that. All right, and the reason is because if it's implanted in their subconscious that they need to do this, they're gonna keep doing it. Right? Read.
It says, when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way.
When you're in the crib chilling, when you out and about. Read.
And when thou liest down, and when thou risest up.
When you're going to sleep, you're talking about the law. When you wake up, you just that law, this Bible, this truth needs to be always consistently in your conversation. Right? Read.
And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hands. And they shall. Yeah.
And a lot of people say this is figurative. There's archaeology on this. We really did that. We really was having them on wristbands binded to us. It's a fact. Read.
It says, and thou shalt write them upon, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hands, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes.
Let me say this real quick as a brother was talking about Cherry. I seen that with Cherry, but let me tell you something. A sister like our poor sister Cherry is and her and Haitian Cutie was on there as well. Sisters like them are sisters who have always been desperate for attention. They're the girls at school that used to punch you when they liked it on you. They're the same sisters. So they're sisters that are desperate for attention, and there's no better way to repay somebody who's desperate for attention than to give them no attention. So no, I will not address Sister Cherry. I got a call. I heard about it. I went in a live stream. There was all of 20 people watching live. That in and of itself is laughable. That in and of itself is a testament that I have no business responding to them. They're not in the same caliber as we are through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So it would truly be a waste of time. If we responded to every nut on YouTube, I mean, when will we be able to really sit back here and get into this law and edify, brother? So no, I will not be responding to Sister Cherry. I love Sister Cherry so dearly, and I just wish that she would leave white Jesus alone, right? But read that.
It says, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates.
So we really wrote that on the posts of our house and our gates, and nowadays we do it. If y'all look up something called a mezuzah, I would suggest people get that for their phylacteries, they call it in the New Testament. Also the mezuzah that you can get and put in your house, and I'll have different portions of the Torah within it, the Torah in it, right? Read.
And it shall be when the Lord thy God.
Appreciate you, brother, the Reubenite. And Quam Rawaban, man, rise tribe of Reuben. We need more Reubenites in this truth, and getting off that reservation and putting this work in. Read.
And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things, which thou fillest not, and wells dig, which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees, which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full. Then be what?
Meaning what? The Canaanites already have this whole place set up. Y'all just going to go in there and take it. Right? Go ahead.
And that goes into, Wisdom of Solomon, the 12th chapter, how the land's receiving a worthy colony. Just
of God's children.
Most High already had it prepared for us.
That's right. The water. That's a good precept.
It says, verse 12, then beware lest thou forget that Yahweh, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. It says, verse 13,
that's another precept to show Egypt mean bondage, right? Read.
That's the second one, too. Thou shalt fear Yahweh thy God, and serve him, and shall swear by his name.
Not the name of Yahweh, read.
You shall not go after other gods of the gods of the people which are round about you.
That's right. Go ahead.
For Yahweh thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Yahweh thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt.
And now look at us. Read.
You shall not tempt the Lord your God as he tempted him in Massa. It says, Verse 17, you shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh your God and his testimonies and his statutes.
Hold on, pretty black. I don't know if Yellowstone is a part of biblical prophecy, but I know that there's a lot of niggas from Jellystone that are part of biblical prophecy. So, like, go ahead.
Verse 18, and thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of Yahweh, that it might be well with thee, and that thou mayest go in and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers.
Read on.
To cast out all thine enemies from before thee, as the Lord hath spoken. And when thy son asketh thee in the time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded
So
you?
your child is going to ask, well, what does this mean? All these laws and all these rules that God gave us, what do they mean? Right, read?
Then thou shalt say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt.
So we're supposed to teach our kids that we were slaves in Egypt. This is important to teach your kids. And I'm going to show you how to teach your kids this. I do it, right? Officer Assad can attest to this. I make my kids watch Prince of Egypt. Not just sometimes. My kids watch Prince of Egypt repeatedly.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter, I told her that she's in Prince of Egypt, Miriam. That my son is in Prince of Egypt, Moses. That I'm in Prince of Egypt, Aaron. Not that I actually believe that we're these individuals reincarnated, but I want her to connect. I want them to connect to that story. Shalom, lawyer. Kwam, lawyer. I want them to connect to that story. This is our story. These people look what they did to us. Our children need to understand that. You see what I'm saying? So I think Prince of Egypt is a good tool, and Prince of Egypt is good also because doesn't got us all the way accurate in physical description. It's got us a lot more accurate than the Lily White portrayals elsewhere. So I think it's good, and I think you need to get your kids to watch that and tell them the importance of it and play it over and over and make it one of their favorites that they ask for, that they are requesting to get played. Right? It's important that they constantly get into that. You see what I'm saying? Right? Read.
It says, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and Yahweh brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. Mm-hmm. And the Lord showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes.
We got to tell our kids also, this is what they did that to us, and then this is what God did to them for doing that to us. Right? To make them to understand how much God loves us, and also how mighty and powerful He is. Read.
It says, and the Lord showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from thence, and that he might bring us in to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our God for our good always, always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at
like you said, always. Always. Showing you that when they are trying to teach us to not keep the law, but it says for our well, keep the law always. So who am I to go with? The church or the Bible?
Yeah.
Always do this for your own good, but you're telling me to just forget about it.
Yeah.
And then as long as you've told me to forget about it, I've been doing bad.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead, you had a point.
Yeah, and it's just so oxymoronic, because why did the Most High punish the children of Israel for not keeping the law? Just to then send his son to die so we can not keep the law? So what was the point? What was the point of even getting mad at us for not keeping the law in the first place?
Just tell us. You know it's all right. Just tell us that. Why don't you just tell us it's all right? Right? Stupid. But they'll have you sitting in the church believing this. Go ahead.
Verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our God, as he hath commanded us.
Read on.
This is Deuteronomy chapter.
Now our righteousness, because we've fallen so short on that, now we have righteousness in faith in the Mashiach Yahushua. But that faith without works, what?
No.
Something happened?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
This reminded me of something.
Okay.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When Yahweh thy God shall bring thee into the lands. I'm really glad that I'm starting
we're here,
at verse
right?
1.
We're verse 1. It's important. We're here in Deuteronomy 7, and we're starting at verse 1, because a lot of brothers, shout out my brother Ed Issachar, man. A lot of brothers love to go and cherry pick and eisegete out of Deuteronomy 7, and we just want to give it to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai in its proper context, starting at verse 1. Read.
When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites.
The who?
The Hittites.
The Hittites. So who is this talking about? The Hittites. Who else?
The Girgashites.
The Girgashites. Read on.
Amorites.
Amorites.
And the Canaanites.
Canaanites.
And the Perizzites.
Perizzites.
And the Hivites.
Hivites.
And the Jebusites.
Jebusites.
7 nations.
So this is the context of this. These particular pre-named 7 nations. Read.
Greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, deliver them before thee.
Them, who is them? The 7 pre-named nations. Read.
Thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
Read on.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
Oh, so guys will go here and say, you can't marry a heathen. Not saying that people should marry heathens. Let's make sure that's on the record. But it's not a law against it, as people would lead you to believe, because it's talking about them. Who is the them? The 7 nations that were already named. That's the them. Read.
Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And that's why it's so good that we've been going through this, because when you even going back into the history, who was the people that our ancestors always told us not to deal with? It was the Canaan.
That's right. Damn Canaanites. Before Esau was even relevant, we had this enemy amongst us, which were the Canaanites. Right, read.
Verse 4, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods.
And that really goes back to the garden. And that's how it happened in the garden. Okay, that's who the serpent is. Not the white man, the Canaanite man.
Yeah.
The white man, he's new, and he'll fade out. And then what? It'll be the Canaanite again. Right, so read.
It says, so will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire.
Just kill them, burn everything they got down as far as their religious system. Get rid of it, because it's going to destroy you. And it did. Ashtoreth, the Ashtoreth pole, which we're going into. Oh yeah, tonight, y'all. Part 1, Israelites shut down strip club.
Oh man.
Sicarii in front of Magic City through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Guess what? We're going to be, that drops tonight on Public Enemies. Part 2 drops Thursday right here on Sicarii. That Magic City exists because we didn't destroy it. The altars of the Canaanites is part of their altars are strip clubs. I want you to understand this historically. An Ashtoreth pole is a damn strip club. Yeah. It's where it comes from. You see what I'm saying? And we didn't want to destroy that. So because we didn't destroy that, we're here now. See? But God is commanding us in Deuteronomy to destroy that. Right? Read on.
Just get ready for a lot of fire this week.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. Between the summit week, the work that they put in here in Dallas this last weekend, and the Super Bowl weekend also in Atlanta, I'm being honest with you. Look out for fire the whole month of February. We're going to call February Fire February. All right? It's just going to be going down in the spirit, right? But read.
Fuego February.
Fuego February. That sounds a little better, huh? We're going to look for the northern kingdom, right? Read.
Verse 6, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
We know this one, right? We're the greatest, right? Read.
Israelite 101, right?
You're right. You don't need a breakdown on that, right? Go ahead.
Verse 7, the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people.
He chose us when it was just a few of us, and all these other nations were being established, but it was a few of us. That's when we were chosen by God, right? Read.
But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt.
That's right. Another one. Right, go ahead.
Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God. He is God, the faithful God. Which
Yahweh is the power, the faithful power. Read.
which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep. Sorry, you want to read
Go ahead.
With them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations.
Those that love him and keep his commandments, that's who he's merciful to. See that? So you want to get that mercy through Hamashiach Yahushua, you're not keeping the commandments, you're not going to get it. Period. Because even the following of Hamashiach Yahushua is according to the law. Right? So read.
And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him.
How do you hate God? By not keeping the commandments. And he's going to judge you for it. That's what he's saying. Read.
He will repay him to his face.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them.
Uh-huh.
Wherefore it shall come to pass, if you hearken to these judgments and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto thy fathers.
If you keep it, I will have mercy. That's simple. Read.
It says, and he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb and the fruit of thy lands, thy corn and thy wine and thine oil, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep, and the land which he swore unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee. Yeah, that's, if we didn't break the commandments, we wouldn't be damn sick right now.
That's right. That's true. Good point.
Upon thee, but will lay upon. God, this is such a.
You want to know how to defeat AIDS in Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah.
All right. The laws. Yeah. Read.
Which is that word which heals all things.
That's right.
That's wisdom of Solomon.
Beautiful.
It says, and the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou know. It's Salaki. I just, because this reminds me back to the Kavanaugh trial when Hashar and Nasi were going into it, and they brought out a really good point. Everybody wants to talk about how deep ancient Kemet was and how wise they were in terms of their, for example, medicines and things of that nature. Well, why does Shira speak about the diseases of Egypt? Why would they be having such a plethora of diseases if they're just this ancient society where, it was like a damn utopia, like they try to say it is.
Mm-hmm. And also too, and it's not just the Bible that says this. Okay, it's not just the Bible. If you look at the history of Egypt from a historical and scientific perspective, people were not living long in Egypt. People had bad developments. There was a lot of disease. They had a lot of problems in Egypt that they never want to talk about. So it's not like the Bible didn't just make that up. This is a historical fact about Egypt, right? You had another point? Yeah,
and matter of fact, in their presentation, I think Nasi brought out how one of the pharaohs. It's either one or two things. It's slocky. My memory don't serve me right now. Either one of the pharaohs died at like 30-something, or the average lifespan of an Egyptian was around 30-something.
It was his 30s. Yeah. That was the average lifespan.
Are you kidding me? That's an advanced civilization. 30-something years old. I'm 20 years old.
That's why we're having like we had a few young kings, but that was of course due to people getting killed, not people dying early from mortality. But they were literally having young, like niggas was just were hurry up and dying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So niggas is coming in the rain as teenagers constantly in Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Why? Because Pops was dead at 30, 35, 36. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's an anomaly for us. They ain't just dropping like flies. But we're supposed to respect that.
Madness.
Verse.
Like the brother said, they tried to say they had great doctors, but why couldn't them niggas live to see 40?
Yeah, why couldn't you heal yourself?
Read.
It says,
Esau jacking us up, poisoning the hell out of us. Niggas is making it past 40. Only niggas ain't making it past 40 ones is getting shot. You see what I'm saying? So why couldn't Kemet get it right in the Nile Valley Delta? Right? Read on.
Yeah, the worst hood in America. I mean, got a higher mortality rate than Egypt.
In Egypt, nigga. Yeah, it's crazy.
I get mad about that.
Go ahead.
It says, verse 15, the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee.
We'll lay them on all that hate us. So everyone else will be jacked up and have all these gout, arthritis, diabetes, AIDS, all the things that are affecting and destroying our community, deteriorating our health, would be on everyone else if we simply would keep the law. Read.
And thou shalt consume all the people which Yahweh thy God shall deliver thee. Thine eye shall have no pity upon them, neither shalt thou serve their gods, for that will be a snare unto thee. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I, how can I dispossess them? Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shall well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh.
See, that scary ass spirit that our people have to this day is a spirit that we are rebuked and instructed not to have in our law. We are commanded not to be scary like that. See that? A lot of Israelites are scary in the truth and out of the truth. It's a fact. Read.
It says, thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shall well remember what Yahweh thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt.
You remember that God is with you and what God has done for you continuously throughout the annals of time. And you have faith and hope and trust in that, and you go into battle with that in your mind. Read.
The great temptations which thine eyes saw, and the signs, and the wonders, and the mighty hand, the stretched out arm, whereby Yahweh thy God brought thee out, so shall the Lord thy God do unto all the people of whom thou art afraid. Moreover, Yahweh thy God will send the hornet among them, and so that until that are left and hide themselves from thee, be destroyed. Thou shalt not be. I just want to know, if God loves everybody, why is he sending hornets to attack people?
Killer bees.
Killer bees.
Africanized, that's what they call them. Africanized bees.
Yeah.
Right? Go ahead.
Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, for Yahweh thy God is among you, a mighty God and terrible. And the Lord thy
Read.
And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee by little and little. That's Wisdom of Solomon 12 chapter. Yep.
By little and little.
Thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon thee.
Like if you just basically he said we gotta in waves take them out, as opposed to just an utter waste of those people. Right? Read.
It says, but the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto thee, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. You're going to destroy them until they're destroyed. That's a destruction, boy.
That's right.
You kill him till he's dead. And he shall deliver their kings into thine hand, and thou shalt destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee until thou have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it, but thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. That reminded me of the dude in Joshua having the Babylonian
garment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And also in Maccabees. Remember they had the idols with them.
Yeah. That's chapter 7. You want me to read through 8?
Yeah, we're gonna read 8. This is gonna be the last one.
Okay, good. This is Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 1. All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live, and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doth man live.
Yahweh Shah quoted this in Matthew. It's one of my favorite scriptures to go to in the New Testament. Him quoting that, but he's saying the whole reason he did that was to show you're not to live by bread alone, but by the law. That is prevalent. That is primary to what you are to live by, more than food or drink or the laws of God. Right? You said Savannah, bro? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just to gorilla back out that point, or silverback out that point. Yahweh Shai is the Word made flesh, right? So, what word is that? What word is he made flesh? It's not the New Testament.
Yeah, exactly, because the word wasn't there yet. It wasn't there yet. So it was the law and the prophets made manifest in the flesh. See that?
Verse 4 rather. Thy raiment waxen not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son.
As it said, your raiment did not wax old, neither did your foot swell. So we did all that walking, and we was all that time, and we were preserved physically, and our clothing even was preserved, which is interesting, showing you the supernatural things that were at work and the blessing that the Most High poured out upon us already. Right, Reed?
As a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh thy God chasteneth thee. Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways and to fear him. For Yahweh thy God bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil olive and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless Yahweh thy God for the good land which he hath given thee. Beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, in not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes which I command thee this day. Lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget the Lord thy God, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, who led thee through the great and terrible wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions, and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee in the wilderness with manna, which thy fathers knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thy heart, my power and the might of my hand hath gotten me this wealth. That's what a lot of our people say. They don't give all praise to the Most High.
That's right.
But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore unto thy fathers, as it is this day. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget Yahweh thy God, and walk after other gods, and serve them, and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye shall utterly perish, that ye shall surely perish. As the nations which Yahweh destroyeth before your face, so shall ye perish, because ye would not be obedient unto the voice of the Lord your God. That's the end of 8.
See that? So, moral story, keep the commandments, man. That's simple. With that, we're going to close up. We'll be back tomorrow, probably around the same time. As y'all know, we're going into history and Torah, and then, of course, Wednesday for the Situation Room. But again, later today, look out for, the strip club. First part of us, Israelite Shutdown strip club, and then part 2 will be Guerrilla Hebrew versus Magic City on Thursday right here. So just look out for that. Again, with that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and we say Shalom.